One more race left in Series 5 of PCA Sim Racing. James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside Taylor Burris and our producer Ryan Bauer here with you. We're going to jump straight to the starting grid of the Pro Class, presented by Porsche, the best of the best in PCA Sim Racing. A lineup like this for their season finale from Daytona. Josh Vieira won the 6th round of this season at Watkins Glen, qualifying with a 152.315 to take top spot on the grid over Leif Peterson, who comes into tonight seeking his first ever PCA Sim Racing Championship. He's your points leader coming into tonight. James Youth is second in points, third on the grid. Cameron Martineau with a solid debut. He's going to start fourth tonight. Chris Pies, who's been so colorful over the course of this season, wins and events all around. He'll start fifth. Sixth is Michael Coopersmith in the 22. Matthew Kikish, who is in third in points entering this evening, is seventh on the grid. Jacob Shum starts eighth. Ninth is the 033 of Robert Rattray. Dewey Kang, a fan favorite and a chat favorite in YouTube, starts in 10th.
Starting in 11th is Jason Lisner, followed by Dave Schwartz in the 12th position. Leon Van Handel will be starting in the 13th position, followed by William Anderson in 14th. Chris Walsh will be starting in the 15th position, followed by Jeff Lewis in 16th. Shabalo Benyopaje will be starting in 17th position, followed by Liam Brazitas in 18th. Chris Braun will be starting in 19th, and Igor Stoiker will round out your top 20.
21st is James Patak. Mark Youth starts in 22nd. 23rd is Corey Freeman. Matt Mitchell starts in 24th. Christian Raba, 25th. And Lynn Wilson, 26th on the grid for this, the last race of 2020 in the official series for PCA Sim Racing, as we tackle the Daytona International Speedway road course in Daytona Beach, Florida one more time. It's a 3.56 mile, 5.73 kilometer circuit with 11 turns, 31 degrees of banking in the NASCAR corners, 18 degrees of banking on the tri-oval, 2 degrees of banking on the backstretch, and no banking in the infield. It is yet again right after 8:40 local time in Sim on the default day for iRacing, May 15, 2020. 64 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, 66 degrees Fahrenheit track temp, winds to the east at 10 miles an hour, 31% humidity all around. No surprises there, as Porsche presents the Pro Class of PCA Sim Racing. This is the best of the best. Leif Peterson enters tonight with a 72-point lead over his nearest competitor in the standings, James Youth, who starts in third. That means, realistically, that if he finishes 11th or better, it's all Leif Peterson's. As we go green flag racing, we're underway with the last race of the season in Daytona, and Vieira and Peterson will go nose to nose into that first corner. Here comes James Youth down to the inside. He's going to nose ahead of Leif Peterson, take over that second spot. So Youth goes to second. Peterson back to third. Chris Pies, his teammate there. Texans abound, running third and fourth. Cameron Martineau running in the fifth spot just ahead of Matthew Kiggins, as Michael Coopersmith has a big dive there to the inside to try and get the spot, and I think he will ahead of Kiggins. Nice move there from Coopersmith to take over sixth.
Great pass indeed, but here comes Matthew Kikas back on the attack right now as he tries to now hold off a hard-charging Jason Lisner right now as they head up to the Western Horseshoe for the first time under green flag conditions here tonight as they start to stack up just a little bit. Robert Rattray goes a little bit too wide. He's going to get passed by Jacob Schum as they come out of the Western Horseshoe heading over to turn 6.
It is clean work all the way through here. Josh Vieira, your leader, ahead of James Youth, Jake Peterson, Chris Pies, Martineau, all nose to tail, side by side a little bit further back as Jacob Shum goes wide. Rattray will take over that 9th position. Jason Lisner, who, remember, won the last race we had that came to Daytona. Back at the end of Series 1, they were nose to tail. That was in the GT3 Cup car. This is the GT4, but still, don't count out Lisner and his ability to get it done at a track that he already has a victory at in prior PCA Sim Racing competition. Same, though, can be said for Josh Vieira, who's got a win under his belt at Watkins Glen. Vieira's just got better and better and better throughout the season, so no surprise then to see him in the mix, and Leif Peterson running pretty much exactly where he has all season long. His worst finish last time out at Suzuka, but even then, his worst finish was only 6th. He's been second, the 3 races before then. That is why Leif Peterson is in pole position to win his first PCA Sim Racing Championship if he can keep it clean. As Chris Braun will get a black flag for an orange zone violation, a heavier penalty if he causes an incident on the first lap in any PCA Sim Racing event. So he will have to come down pit road for an extended penalty.
Costly penalty indeed, but Mr. Consistency, Leif Peterson, once again is trying to hold on to that third position. Christopher Pies, the Birdman, not too far behind in fourth place as they try to come out of the International Horseshoe. Still clean I lost my thought right there. Clean racing here for the most part as the rest of the field works their way through the field right now, heading up to the Western Horseshoe. Everybody staying single file, not putting any pressure on anybody as they know it is early on. A lot to still happen here as they get ready into the Western Horseshoe. A couple of drivers try to go take the wide route and try to make a pass, but to no avail. They're going to slot back single file.
Good work there for Vieira, Hugh Peterson, Pies, that quintet with Cameron Martineau making a really solid run in the 20 car. That's your group there at the very top end of this field. As we see Martineau continue to work his way through the mix here and have a nice run in the 20 car. He's gapped it to Michael Coopersmith. That's where your first big stretch of pavement opens up. It's about 1.2 seconds from Martineau in fifth to Coopersmith back in sixth, and then everybody else within no more than 0.7 of a second for one another. The pro class, as per usual, as we've come to expect in Series 5, right on top of one another.
Always providing a great show for us here in the pro class as we see a little bit of action going on in the third position as Christopher Pies takes a peek to the outside of Leif Peterson as they come out of NASCAR Turn 4 down the front straightaway heading to the tri-oval. Christopher Pies has that draft to help him get to the outside of Leif Peterson as they come across the line. Peterson, though, will still hold on to the third position, but as they enter the braking zone, Peterson will let on by Christopher Pies to move him back to fourth.
Did that little checkup entering turn one not smell a tremendous amount of I am points racing tonight? I am not going to bother. If you think you've got the pace, go for it. It doesn't matter which one of us wins this race so long as I get the title. Maybe I'm crazy, Taylor, but that's what I saw out of that.
That's what I saw. Agree with you on that one as well. Leif Peterson not worried about winning the race, worried about the war, winning the championship here in the PCA Sim Racing Series Pro Class, and doing that indeed as Cameron in the number 20 will take a peek to the outside as they enter the Western Horseshoe, and now we'll try the crossover to the inside as they come off corner exit, but can't quite make it work. He'll slot back in behind Leif Peterson as Michael Coopersmith watches on as they enter turn 6.
Just sort of hanging out there, waiting to see what goes as Peterson and Pies putting together their runs for Imperial Motorsports and doing a nice job of it as Martineau begins to put the pressure on the 913 machine. But Leif Peterson won't mind, won't matter. He's in great shape as it stands again. 72 points, the number 11th or better, clinches Leif Peterson the title, and that's only if James Hugh manages to win. So right now, when you consider that Hugh is the second, that number extends to 12th or better. That's all Leif Peterson needs to do in order to get the title.
So pretty much just do what he's been doing all season long, running laps, staying consistently in the top 5, and just bringing the car home in one piece. If he does that, he can clinch the championship here tonight once we wave the checkered flag.
If we're looking at podium battles, Matthew Kikis sits in third. Liam Radzitis is fourth in points. And Radzitis would need to have a barn burner, I think, in order to jump up. He's currently 15th on the board, and Matthew Kikis sits in 7th. So if this race ended right now, no change in the top 3 in points and no change in the title. It would go to Leif Peterson of the 913, who we talk about model of consistency. It's been more about the consistency than the winning for Peterson. Peterson has not won a race yet this year, but when your drop is a 6th place finish, chances are you're going to be near the top of the point standings. And in this case, Peterson just banging out great finish after great finish after great finish. That's why he's here. And he won't necessarily mind if Cameron Martineau decides to make a move. Martineau was faster by 0.4 of a second that last time by. So you would suspect that Martineau probably has a pace advantage on Leif Peterson, but I don't think Peterson's going to worry about it all that much, as Liam Radzitis is going to get a black flag for an incident. So Radzitis will have to come down pit road, and that will put a significant dent in his charge to try and beat out Matthew Kikis for the last spot on the class podium.
That is going to be a big, hefty penalty right there for Liam Radzitis, and it's going to be a long shot now for him to even consider breaking out into the podium position for the championship to get around Matthew Kikis. So It's going to be a tough night for Liam Rositas here as he tries to come down pit road to get his penalty served. But meanwhile, back up to the front of the field, Joshua Vieira holding off a hard-charging James Hughes and Christopher Pies right now as they come through the bus stop chicane. Pies as well as Hughes take a peek to the inside of Joshua Vieira, but continue on as they go back up to the 31 degrees of banking in NASCAR 3 and 4.
As Michael Coopersmith just about made the same exact mistake that Jeff Smith made in the club class race and smacked the fence coming out of the bus stop entering NASCAR turn 3. So Coopersmith almost in trouble, almost gave up 6 to Matthew Kikis. Instead, he'll just give up a little bit of tail. You'll take a look at the replay here and see what happened as they came through the bus stop. But Michael Coopersmith, just about lost it and sent it up. You see that car drift way up towards the safer barrier, which is the last thing you want to see happen here. And I wonder if he might have had a slowdown penalty. He did have a slowdown penalty because he gives up all the track position here, and it checks up a few drivers as they come through the S's. Coopersmith with the slowdown that he serves at the very end of it, and does, I think, bounce off. I believe that might have been William Anderson that he bounced off the side of, but Coopersmith losing all that track position over the course of half a lap.
Michael Coopersmith always has showed a lot of pace throughout the season, but just could always make a mistake at the wrong time to where it costs him big time as far as points, positions, and a chance of winning a race in the PCA Sim Racing Series. I'm pretty sure he's going to be looking back on the season and kind of wishing he did something different to help him with a chance at a championship, because he was one of the fastest drivers here in this class.
Valid points all around as you see some of the excellent shots here. You ride on board with Christopher Pies looking out towards that rear bumper of Joshua Vieira, who's looking for his second win in the last 3 races of the Pro Class of Series 5 to cap off this season. But Pies is not letting him go, and last time by, Pies had 2/10 on your race leader, but James Hughes is also in the mix too with Lee Peterson, with Cameron Martineau. The front 5 separated by 1.3 seconds, if you can believe it. But then again, it's the Pro Class. It's not the first time we've seen them race this close together throughout Series 5.
I'm a little disappointed. We've seen them race much closer than that, than 1.6 seconds. So, I mean, they have a little bit of work to do. They need to tighten it up and give us a little bit more racing action here at Daytona, as we are now approaching 30 minutes left to go.
Coming through the quarter-way mark of this Pro Class race, the final race, the 32nd race of Series 5 and the final race of Series 5 in PCA Sim Racing. Vieira had a Pies, he had a Peterson. Cameron Martineau runs in the 5th position. Then Kikis, who's all the way back in the 6th spot. Jason Lisner, ever so quietly, we talked about him and not counting him out. Remember, he won Series 1's finale at Daytona. It was the most recent race we had run at the World Center of Racing in PCA Sim Racing competition up to now. But good work there all around for that number 92 machine, who is fighting Robert Rattray as Rattray goes off the racetrack and ends up sliding there. And we've got a good battle here all of a sudden for that 8th spot, because Lisner's trying to take advantage, but I also think he's trying to make sure that he doesn't put himself in a position where Rattray runs him over. If Rattray makes a mistake, rear end dancing on the 92 as he tries to complete the pass entering NASCAR 1.
As a little bit further right behind them as well, you have Leon Von Handel, Jacob Schum, and William Anderson, and then Dewey Kang and Chris Walsh as well. So you have about from 7th to about 13th position battling it out for the top 10 finishes here to cap off their season. As we see, here comes Jacob Schum with a big head of steam, 3 wide down the super stretch as they head to the bus stop chicane. Who will be the bravest? Looks like Lisner will back off, but Schum and Lisner and Rattray go side by side through the bus stop. Here comes Leon Von Handel as well to get to the inside of Lisner, but he cannot complete the pass as they come out of the bus stop into NASCAR 3 and 4.
What about aggressive moves and all that mix in the bus stop there? You saw Jacob Schum go 3 wide on Robert Rattray and Jason Lisner, and then Leon Von Handel, who won this race 1 week ago at Suzuka, ended up trying to make the move, but lost all that ground and lost about 3 or 4 spots in the process. He's trying to hold off Chris Walsh as they come towards turn 1, but you look back at all of that, the only thing it's done is allow Matthew Kikis to scoot away from this. It's now 3.4 seconds back from Kikis to Schum in 7th.
certainly is. Meanwhile, back up the front, it's still a battle of side-by-side between Christopher Pies and Joshua Vieira. Christopher Pies did lead that last lap, but Vieira has now reclaimed the race lead right now, but we're still keeping an eye on that battle for 7th on back between Schum, Rattray, Lisner, Anderson, Von Handel, Chris Walsh, and Dewey Kang now, who's side-by-side with Chris Walsh as they head over to the dogleg.
Dewey Kang and Chris Walsh trying to go for something. Michael Coopersmith trying to make up the time that he lost on the slowdown penalty that he got some 5 minutes ago. But Kang will shut the door on Coopersmith. Walsh will get away from Kang by just a bit. That evens out that contest as they exit the infield portion of the course and return to NASCAR Turn 1. And there's contact. William Anderson goes around. Looks like he bounced off the front end of Leon Von Handel after he was sideways exiting the corner to begin with. To see if race control issues some sort of penalty. Not necessarily certain if they will, but we'll keep our eyes peeled as we remind you all that tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing is brought to you by our friends at the Virtual Racing School. PRS offers all kinds of setups, and all drivers in PCA Sim Racing have the opportunity to run a VRS setup if they so choose. If you want to find out more information on how you become a better driver in Sim and improve your lap times, head on over to the website at www.virtualracingschool.com. Joshua Vieira ahead of Christopher Pies, ahead of James Hughes, ahead of Lee Peterson. Names that you know if you have followed PCA Sim Racing. All up in the top 5 of the Cameron Martineau, a bit of a new wild card. He's the only one that hasn't been a regular fixture up here, but Martineau with plenty of speed in his debut run at Daytona. Nice solid work from Martineau to be in the top 5. He comes from a very, very solid run of PCA Sim Racing prowess, and have a hunch that he might be maybe a little bit more than just a factor in this when it comes to the
I think so too, as we keep an eye on seeing how the rest of the field continues to battle out. Lee Peterson still holding on to that 4th position and still in the mix for the race lead right now as they come out of the Western Horseshoe, but doing what he does best, just being consistent, hitting his marks, and trying to stay out of trouble right now as they come through turn 6, the in and out, or transition onto the NASCAR banking oval circuit as they now work their way. Still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars under a blanket separated by 1.4 seconds as they come out of NASCAR turn 2.
You had that top battle, you had the battle for 7th, which has separated a bit. Schum, then Rattray and Lisner. You have to go back from that trio maybe about 2 seconds to get to Chris Walsh and Dewey Kang. And then the William Anderson split, I think, really did split that up. Anderson, Benjo Pontiac is in there. And then a big mess around Lynn Wilson and Corey Friedman. And I think we'd be remiss not to mention the story that we got from Corey Friedman and Lynn Wilson, because these two have experience racing the real-life Rolex 24. Friedman makes his debut tonight, and he and Lynn Wilson ran together in one of the last air-cooled Porsches to run the 24-hour Classic, and they teamed up again in 2004 at the Rolex 24 too. They were down at pace compared to the new water-cooled GT3 RS in 2001, so they allowed Corey and Lynn to use ABS to close the gap, and since it rained so much of that race, they started 75th on the grid and finished 23rd overall and 13th in the GT class. Also the only air-cooled GT car that year, and the last RSR to ever do the Rolex 24. They did the Rolex 24 and the 6-hour at Watkins Glen in 2004, and met as competitors in the first pro race in Speed Vision GT way back in the day. Of course, it was at Lowe's Motor Speedway, but they had a lot of fun, and a few months later, Corey called Lynn, asked him to come to Daytona to test for a Rolex 24 team they were putting together, and Lynn had never been to Daytona, but he went. The story pretty much tells itself, I think, there. Corey and Lynn raced in Speed Vision GT against Igor Soiker's father, and Igor himself remembered Lynn and company when he asked about it last season in Series 4. So a few more fun PCA Sim Racing stories for your Friday evening as we close out Series 5 and finish off our competition with the Cayman GT4. Josh Vieira is still your leader, though, as we approach halfway.
As we watch those two battle it out, Lynn Wilson, Corey Friedman, as they come up to the transition section of the course, they're actually working their way around Shabalo Benyo Padje, who has some issues. A cut course penalty by the looks of it. He is really slowing down, trying to give way, dropping all the way outside the top 20, and continues to fall back.
Continues to slide on backwards, but it's all solid stuff at the front and all good stuff for the top 11. And then you get back to this really wild battle where Friedman starts it, and they are all over the place, all on top of each other. It's about 2 and 3, maybe 4 wide here in some parts of the racetrack, Taylor.
Oh, most definitely. We've seen 3 wide. We almost saw 4 wide a couple times throughout tonight's race. So great battles all the way around, especially, of course, the closest battles is that battle up for the top 5, where for the race lead right now, Joshua Vieira still holding off Christopher Pies.
Josh Vieira still hanging on and making sure Chris Pies stays in bay. Meanwhile, Corey Freeman, Igor Soiker, who we just talked about maybe some 2 minutes ago, if that, together with William Anderson in tow, as you see some rear ends dancing. They always do with these cars. And the entry into turn 1 is Friedman. Gets on the gas too early out of turn 1. That allows Anderson to go past. Maybe Soiker has an opportunity here at the International Horseshoe. If he doesn't, Dave Schwartz might be the one to take over the spot.
As we see as they come out of the International Horseshoe, making their way up to the Western Horseshoe right now. Soiker still watching as Corey Freeman starts to pull away, having that experience, knowing how to drive around this circuit. As they come past the dogleg up to the Western Horseshoe, Soiker tries to take a peek to the inside, can't quite make it work, as Dave Schwartz also is right there in close combat with these 2 other drivers.
Freeman leading this group now because William Anderson has stretched it to about a 1.3 second gap back to Corey Freeman, who is racing in his first PCA sim racing event tonight at the World Center of Racing. And when you consider his experience with the Rolex 24, you would suspect that it's a pretty solid pick to make Daytona your first race in PCA sim racing. Freeman coming out of the Palmetto region, Charleston, South Carolina, home base for him. He runs in the 16th position.
A little right behind them, we have a battle between Dave Schwartz and Christian Rava for the 18th position. As they come up to the bus stop chicane, they're going to go side by side. Schwartz really gets onto the binders and is able to hold on to that position as they go to the bus stop. Rava, I believe, might have had an issue where he cut the course. That gave position to Matt Mitchell to take in 19th position.
Mitchell did take up the spot. Rava did pick up a time penalty for running outside of the bounds of the bus stop in the back straightaway, so he'll drop a few spots. And now that, I think, has sort of severed this group, but we're also seeing a few pit stops too. Igor Soiker, remember he was the club class champion in Series 4, but he decides to go down pit road for service early on, and that opens up the pit window as we turn our attention towards the midway race break, as we'll hit halfway in just a few moments. And the midway race break for this pro class is presented to you by Porsche. Your race leader, as it stands, halfway now, Josh Vieira out of the Potomac region, Track Monkey Apparel, Porsche Cayman, that lime green and black, that went and got the victory at Watkins Glen. It was the first win for a driver out of the Potomac region in PCA competition. He holds the top spot ahead of the driver in second, who may try and be the driver in first before too long, Christopher Pies out of the Lone Star region, who got the victory at Barber Motorsport Park and has been a fixture in a lot of these races in Series 5 and just about wants to make it happen here too. Also got the win at Circuit of the Americas to boot. Third is James Huth, who came into tonight second in the point standings out of the Hudson-Champlain region, the New Yorker that has been present ever since the first race of PCA Sim Racing back in March of 2019 and also head of the EDE program. On his rear bumper is Cameron Martineau from New Hampshire. The North Country region is where he calls home. As Huth will come down pit road for service, but Martineau in that black Porsche Cayman GT4 runs in the third position. Fourth belongs to Leif Peterson, points leader, who would be the champion if these results hold out of the Maverick region of the PCA, which covers the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Solid work all year for Leif Peterson, chasing his first title in PCA competition. Fifth belongs to the 15 machine of Matthew Kikis, who maybe hasn't had the best of luck, but he's had tons of speed. And he's really getting the chance to stretch his legs and go. This extra space at Daytona, I think, working out very well for him as he holds his top 5 spot. The driver out of Apex, North Carolina, holding it down for the Carolinas region. Robert Rattray finishes in, or runs in the 6th spot, rather. He's out of the Gold Coast region of the PCA, down South Florida, Miami, and the surrounding area where he calls home. And solid work for Rattray in his Porsche Cayman. 7th is the 56 of Jacob Shum, another one of the Carolinas region drivers, which has had solid representation, in particular in this pro class, all the way through. 8th in this race at this time, Jason Lisner, who won at Daytona back in Series 1. We told you about that one, how he and Billy Smith were maybe separated by 2 1,000ths of a second. It was about as tight as that finish between Earl Arts Jr. and Chris Duffy in the sport class earlier. But Lisner runs 8th. 9th currently belongs to Dewey Kang out of the Metropolitan New York region. Yes, those are Kramer colors that you see on his Cayman. You know he loves it as much as I think a lot of people in the chat do. And then 10th currently belongs to Jeff Lewis, another one of the Potomac region, running the Teal machine and putting together a solid run to put 2 of their drivers in the top 10 when you count Josh Vieira.
Currently in the 11th position is a Rolex 24-hour racer, Lynn Wilson from the Connecticut Valley region, currently running in that number 3 Porsche in the 11th position. Back in 12th, you'll find the number 41 from the Longhorn region, William Anderson in his number 41 Porsche, having a great run here tonight, trying to catch up to Lynn Wilson about 2 seconds back. In 13th, in the number 34 from the St. Louis region, Mark Huth right now having a great run in that number 34 as he is continuing on his way through the field. In 14th, we will find James Huth from the Hudson Champlain region. He just got done with his pit stop. He is back out on the track, continuing on his way as he worked actually around Mark James Huth right now. In the 15th position from the Palmetto region, we just talked about him, another Rolex 24-hour competitor, Corey Friedman in that number 26 Porsche. He's trying to catch up to Mark Huth right now. It's about 3 seconds up the road. Chris Braun in the 170 from the Northeast region in that number 170 Speed Secrets Porsche, currently working his way up through the field right now. He just completed his pit stop. In 17th position, you'll find the 204 of Matt Mitchell from the Peach State region. He's just now coming off pit road as he will continue on his way here on the circuit. In 18th position, you'll find the 13 of Dave Schwartz from the Gold Gate region as he is continuing on his way, just coming off pit road, following suit with Matt Mitchell. 19th, you'll find another driver who has come down pit road. That is none other than Igor Swaker from the Chesapeake region, as he is in a tight battle right now between our 20th position driver, Liam Rudzitas from the Upper Canada region, currently sitting 20th in that 05, trying to see if he can have a shot of breaking into the top 3 into the point standings.
21st in this race is the Suncoast Florida region driver Christian Rava, for whom this represents a home race here in PCA sim racing. Daytona not terribly far away from his stomping grounds, as we'll see Chris Pies peel off pit road for service. It will be Shabab Yopadkai running in 22nd, Metropolitan New York region driver who spun off in the International Horseshoe earlier and struggled to make his way back up suits, but a solid season so far for Shabab. Chris Walsh runs in the 23rd position. He too out of the Carolinas region of the PCA, and with a solid run of that 104 machine. 24th on track is Michael Coopersmith. Leon Van Handel is the last car running on track as it stands in the 25th position. He won in Suzuka last week, and James Patak running in the 26th position to close out our field. And that is your midway race break, which is brought to you by Porsche. Noted just as we were going through the midway race break that Christopher Pies has come down to complete his stop, his service, so he's good to go to the end. Question will be whether or not everybody else follows suit in the next lap or two. You would expect it at some point, but we'll keep our eyes on Vieira and Martineau and Peterson. That trio represents the group at the very front of this field who have stayed out and are trying to run this as far as they can.
They certainly are, but the thing is, they got to be careful because now Christopher Pies, as long as he has enough fuel, he can go all out to try to get this race win here at Daytona International Speedway. These drivers have to probably come down pit road this time around or next time by, but with them staying out longer, it wastes valuable time for them in order to stay ahead of their competition.
Will Vieira come? Will Martineau come? Will Peterson come? Will Robert Rattray make his way down pit road? All important questions that we will need to keep our eyes on here as we carry on through this race. And it will be now that Martineau will come down, but Lee Peterson is going to stay out. So he is going to try and stretch this just a little bit further than anybody else. Peterson's going to lead a lap here, which will be at least a small carrot if he doesn't get the victory in this race. So Peterson's going to stretch it one more lap. It's going to be all about Vieira and Martineau who come down pit road now.
And now that puts Leif Peterson now out front in the race lead as he will continue on his way. He has a little bit of a gap from Jacob Schoen right now, 7.5 seconds back, so he can save a little fuel, but he will have to come down pit road pretty soon.
Martineau blasted Vieira out of pit road. It wasn't even a question whether or not Vieira was going to be able to hang on. It was a 3-second difference in the pit stop. So Vieira is going to slide out. He's got more fuel. And now the question, I think, with Martineau, had a great stop, jumped out ahead of everybody here. And will he manage to have enough fuel to go to the end? There's also damage that Martineau picked up coming out of pit road. He smacked the fence, making that hard left-hand turn back into the racetrack. So Martineau's got damage to that right front of his car, and he is going to have to worry about that in addition to the fuel levels on his car.
That's going to be very critical for him indeed as the closing laps are starting to wind down here. We're coming up on 12 minutes left to go, so anything could happen right now, so I have to keep track and see what happens.
So, Martineau actually is the first car who has come down pit road for service and is done and should be good to go to the finish, but as we saw in the last race with Rafael Amorim, should is not necessarily a guarantee that he will, and there is also the damage on the right front that we need to be mindful of that will cost him some speed on the straightaways, and you can see it already just with the way Jeff Lewis and Chris Pines are able to mow him down in the draft. Lewis thought about going to the inside here in the bus stop, but I wonder if he might try and make the move in turn one if he gets the toe that I think he should out of that corner.
He certainly is as he continues on his way through the circuit trying to make some ground up here, but keeping an eye on Leif Peterson. He just now came down pit road along with Jacob Schoen. That now leaves Cameron now as the only driver who is currently the highest who has pitted to see what he can do now.
Waiting for Jeff Lewis to come down, and there's Lewis's call in, so Lewis will make a stop, and he is going to seed at that third place position. So Peterson now in his stall as well. He's just going to come out. This is going to be tight between Leif Peterson and Cameron Martineau. I think Martineau is going to have it by inches, and he will. So Peterson's going to come out here right between Martineau, maybe Pais, no, maybe Vieira perhaps, as they'll come out of pit lane, and it's going to be Peterson who is going to try and come down in front of Vieira and run Vieira into the grass to make sure that he gets that third spot locked down. So Leif Peterson right in there with the race leaders. Impressive pit stops all around.
He certainly has, and he's back right where he started it all in third position, trying to hold off Joshua Vieira as they enter into the Western Horseshoe. But here comes Leif Peterson diving almost to the inside of Christopher Pais to get second away, but couldn't quite make it work.
Couldn't quite snag it, but Vieira's got work to do, and it looks like to me maybe a little bit more fuel than you would have figured. You compare Vieira's pit stop to everybody else. Pais and Peterson were at an 8.7 and an 8.5 in their box. Martineau was at a 6.6. That's why he's race leader right now. But Vieira at a 9.7, only comparable to James Huth and Matthew Kekis at a 9.5 and a 9.4. But those two drivers are behind Vieira. So Vieira probably has more fuel than anybody else. He probably doesn't have to worry about whether or not he can make it. But you also give it the track position. And when these drivers are so talented, the margins are so tight. And that's contact. There goes Leif Peterson around as Josh Vieira gets into the back of the 12 machine. And that almost certainly is going to be a penalty of some form. And now Peterson's got to get going because this is going to be all about whether or not he loses too much ground. He'll slide all the way back to 10th. And even after all that, he still is in position to win the title because he only needs to finish 11th or better no matter what else happens, and he's in good shape. And even then, James Huth, who's second in points, currently runs in 6th. Unfortunate for Leif Peterson, but this points battle is still in his hand.
I gotta say, PCA Sim Racing, when they want to end their season, they would go out with a bang with drama filled here tonight. Leif Peterson trying to slow the car down to avoid getting another penalty because he had to cut the course through the back bus stop chicane. So now he is back up to speed and continues on his way. He's about 5 seconds back from Dewey Kang, but he's only now in 10th position. So only one more position, and he could possibly have trouble of losing the championship.
Still in good shape, though. That's the biggest key. Peterson, I don't think, picked up too much maybe a little bit of rear end damage on his Cayman, but it's not excessive, which is the big key. The rear wing is still intact, which is what you want. You would assume, indeed, that Josh Vieira is going to take the black flag for getting into the back of Luke Peterson. So he will eventually lose third spot. And Chris Pies has managed to get around Cameron Martineau in the midst of all of that. So Pies now in control, and it would be an Imperial Motorsports pair winning the race and the title if we close it all down now. But we still have 8 minutes to go. And before we wrap up tonight's race, we'll remind you that tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing is brought to you by our friends at Z1 Dashboard. Z1 Dashboard is the racing analytics application that shows you everything you need to know about your position on track, your competitors' positions, and where you'll be after pit stops. The Z1 Dashboard can also tell you where your competition is, when you should pit, how much fuel you should take, what the weather is like. You can assign up to 10 different dashboards to each car and switch between them with a click of a button, so the required information is always at your fingertips. The latest version has just been released and includes even more dashboards and the ability to use your iPhone, iPad, Android phone, or tablet, or any other device with a web browser as a display. To find out more about the Z1 Dashboard, visit them at www.z1dashboard.com. The Z1 Dashboard is offered one more free sim racing software package to a student of the PCA Sim Racing EDE program each and every Friday night all season long. Our final winner in Series 5 is Chip Witt from the Redwood region in the PCA Sport Crunch. The PCA Sim Racing EDE program provides free coaching in sim racing from the most green of drivers to the most seasoned of veterans. Sign up for the EDE program at PCASimRacing.com/EDE, and you might be the next winner of this software package in Series 6. Chris Pies leading this race now ahead of Cameron Martineau. James Youth running in third, which is good, but it's still not quite good enough to leapfrog Lee Peterson in the point standing. Peterson still on track to win the title as it stands, even though this race would be his job, funnily enough.
It's pretty amazing, though, that his lowest finish would be a 9th place finish here this season. Just shows the consistency that Leif Peterson has had all season long here. He's not giving up, though. He's only about 8.2 seconds back from Dewey Kang in 8th place, but with only 6 minutes to go, it's going to be a tall order to try to catch up to the 32 of Dewey Kang.
Some work to do here. Peterson's about 8 seconds back, and we have about 5 laps left to go. Just under 6 minutes left on the clock. But Cameron Martineau's got a chance to go get Chris Pies, James Youth as well. But everybody, for the most part, in good shape. They've all spread out here, save for maybe Robert Rattray, Jacob Shum, and Jason Leusner. That's your best battle towards the front in 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Certainly is. Let's take a look at that battle right now. Robert Rattray trying to close into the back bumper of Jacob Schum right now as Lisner's following suit, keeping an eye on the action in front of him as they come off the Daytona Turn 4 exit, NASCAR Turn 4 exit, heading through the tri-oval right now as they will start to wind it down. 5 minutes left to go on the clock.
Winding it down in Series 5 of PCA Sim Racing. Chris Pies looking for a third win in the season, which I believe would be tops amongst drivers in the pro class, but not to complain about it, I think, one bit. He's had a little bit of unfortunate luck, and it's been a little bit boom or bust for Chris Pies. He's had some great races. You think of what he did at Barber, you think of what he did at Coda, and then you think of some of the madness that's taken place. You think of Suzuka last week, Watkins Glen a few weeks ago, the craziness at Road Atlanta with Michael Cooperschmidt in Series 4, and maybe there's a what if here. Maybe there's a happiness for the victories. I think of some of the better seasons. The 2000 season of Tony Stewart of the Winston Cup Series jumps out to me. He had the most wins that year, also had 6 DNFs, and ultimately that cost him a shot at the title. So it depends on how you look at it, but there's no question Pies has talent.
He certainly does, and it's going to be one to watch as we see what he can do next season, as Christopher Pies, though, is currently trying to get on his way to his 2nd ever career victory, or actually his 3rd win of the season.
Looking for win number 3, but James Youth looking for 2nd in this race. He's not terribly far away from Cameron Martineau, and Pies has stretched out the lead back to the 20 car to about a 2nd, but Youth has closed in that gap to 0.3 of a second on the 20 car, so that might not necessarily be done just yet. Meanwhile, Jacob Shum has cleared Robert Rattray for 5th, A little bit further back in this, and Jason Lisner and Dewey Kang go head-to-head for a spot, 7th and 8th there.
They will go side by side as they come off a NASCAR turn number 4 here. As they come out, here comes Dewey Kang as he will pass Jason Lisner for 7th position. Down the front straightaway they will go as Dewey Kang utilizes the slipstream to slingshot around Jason Lisner in that 92 as they head up to turn number 1. Right in front of them, Robert Rattray, Jacob Schum goes side by side into turn number 1 as Dewey Kang closes the gap between the two drivers.
Oh, that was a beautiful crossover from Robert Rattray exiting turn 1. He entered high, he exited low, and there was nothing that Jacob Schum could have done to defend it. So he's just going to try and follow behind Rattray in the 33 machine and maybe learn a thing or two as they work their way through the infield. Maybe 3 laps to go at best. Chris Pies coming through the far horseshoe, the second horseshoe in the infield. He'll come across the line, and you would imagine, most likely, that we are going to be down to 1 lap to go, maybe 2. It just depends on where he crosses the line and how much time is left on the clock.
It certainly is. It's now about 2.5 minutes left on the clock right now for Christopher Pies as he is currently on track. Right now coming through NASCAR's 3 and 4 by the looks of it, as he is currently going to come across the line. Lap 20 completed with 2 minutes left to go. Actually, he's coming out of turn 2 right now, so he still has a little bit of time and still pulling away from James Hughes, who just got around Cameron for second.
Just made the move around Cameron Martineau to go to second, did James Hughes, so he may match his points finish with a corresponding race finish, and Pies now in control, and this should be it. Just looking at lap times, we are under 1 minute 50 to go, so this all but certainly means that when Chris Pies comes across the line, it will be the white flag, the final lap of Series 5, and the 14 looking for his 3rd win of the year. But who knows? Maybe the fuel won't hold up like it did for Amarillo.
We'll have to wait and see, though, because James Hughes, he is on a tear. He has dropped it down about 0.4 of a second now between him and Christopher Pies. So I'm pretty sure Mr. Chip getting on the headsets telling Chris, watch out, because here comes James Hughes right now. And Matthew Kikis actually has moved up into 3rd. So Cameron actually had to come down pit road. He was not enough fuel left in his car.
So Martineau is the one who did not fill up enough. We talked about that when he came down pit road, so it isn't a huge surprise to see Martineau need a splash of gas to finish this off, and that will kill his bid for a podium and bring Matthew Kikis up into 3rd as Chris Pies and James Hughes run through the final horseshoe in the infield for the last time.
Here they come, working their way out of the Western Horseshoe, possibly for the final time here tonight as they approach this turn number 6, the in and out, the transition up to the banking here at Daytona International Speedway as they climb 31 degrees of banking, possibly for the final time. Here comes James Hughes, going to use the slipstream to try to close the gap between him and Christopher Pies.
And fittingly enough, it's Matthew Kikis who's 3rd in points and 3rd in this race as well. The only one out of sorts is Leif Peterson, who's climbed back to 8th. He's got around Cameron Martineau to take over another spot, but it won't matter to him. It's going to be all about Imperial Motorsports at the end of the day. Chris Pies in control through the bus stop for the last time, but Hughes will have that run.
He does have a great run out of the bus stop chicane. He might be able to go side by side before they get to the line. We'll have to wait and see. It's 0.2 of a second as they come out of NASCAR turn 4. Who will win at the line?
What kind of slipstream is Chris Pies going to be able to hang on to? Not enough. And there goes James Hughes to the outside. And just like it was in Series 1, it's side by side. And this time, it's James Hughes. Old Jim Hughes gets the job done and wins the Pro Class race at the very end ahead of Christopher Pies. A fantastic door-to-door finish at the end of it all, but the man in control and the champion of the highest class of PCA sim racing in Series 5 is the 913 machine, as Leif Peterson out of the Maverick region is at long last a champion in PCA sim racing. Peterson wins the top class of Series 5 presented by Porsche.
What a job for Leif Peterson. Mr. Consistency. I mean, this is his worst finish here tonight in PCA competition. An 8. I mean, could you imagine running all season and your worst position be 8th? I mean, that just shows pure consistency and taking your time out on the track.
the wildness of that he's taking the drop tonight. And even though Jim Hughes did everything he had to do and won this race, still not enough when you consider just how good Leif Peterson was. Year-long success and consistency, both in Series 4 and Series 5, but it comes through here more than it does anywhere else. It is all about Chris Pine's teammate, Leif Peterson, who wins the Pro Class of Series 5. It's time to take you through the full field rundown and show you where your favorite driver finished. Jim Hughes gets it done in the 12 car. We're at the line ahead of Christopher Pines. Matthew Kikish finishes in the 3rd spot. Robert Rattray came home in 4th. 5th went to Jacob Schum in the 56 machine. Dewey Kang was 6th tonight. 7th went to Jason Lisner. Leif Peterson finished in 8th. Cameron Martineau 9th at the end of the day, and Jeff Lewis was 10th.
Your pole sitter, Joshua Vieira, will come home in the 11th position, followed by Lynn Wilson in 12th. 13th goes to Chris Braun, followed by Mark Hughes in 14th. 15th goes to Igor Soiker, followed by Corey Friedman in 16th. 17th goes to Christian Rava, followed by Chris Walsh in 18th. 19th goes to Liam Razitis, and rounding out your top 20, Shabalo Benyopaje.
21st was William Anderson. Matt Mitchell was 21st or 22nd, rather. Or actually, no, I'll tell you that. Mitchell was 21st. Dave Schwartz was 22nd. William Anderson finished in 23rd, and 24th went to Michael Cooper-Smith. 25th was last week's winner, Leon Van Hanel, and Jim Patak finished in the 26th position to complete this Pro Class field and complete Series 5 across the board. The racing is done and dusted, but we still have some drivers to talk to at the very end of this in a competitive, all over the place, in the best of ways Series 5. I had a comment come through earlier tonight. Do you feel like Series 5 lived up to the billing? What stands out to you about this series? And when I look back on it, the biggest thing to me is just how bunched together everybody was, especially in the Pro Class. You want crystallized excellence in PCA sim racing, and you want evidence of how far this program has come. I would point you first to the Road Atlanta Pro Race, which I think may have been the tightest race I've ever seen. But that's not to say it wasn't the only good race this year in the Pro Class.
It certainly has not. I mean, every single race provided some bit of drama, some bit of action, a storyline for each and every single driver out there on the track. And that's what's so amazing about the PCA Sim Racing Series, is that everyone out there has a story to tell, for everyone out there to enjoy, to learn, and also take part of it knowing, hey, I might be that same person as well.
Wildness in Series 5, and it is time to bring in the man at the top of the podium, Leif Peterson, PCA Sim Racing Champion. I know you have worked on that one for a very long time. You, one of the foremost drivers in PCA Sim Racing. You have been here since the beginning at Sebring last year. You have seen so much of the growth, the development, and seen how far this series has come. And in that sense, I have to believe that this title carries a very, very significant amount of weight and meaning to you.
Yeah, it sure does. As you said, I've been here. I've been to every race. I've been on board from the beginning and try to help out any way I can. And whether I get a title or not really doesn't matter. I just like to see the growth of the league, I don't want to say brotherhood, that's excluding people, but the friendships that build, the growth of drivers' skills over time. It's all very rewarding. That's the most rewarding thing about this league.
And the ability to consistently turn out laps. We saw people who would go out and win races. We saw people who would go out and just sweep the field in some of these classes. You built your title on consistency, on practice, on patience, on preparation.
Yes.
How much of the work,
sorry.
How much of the work on Mondays, on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays factors into what you can put out on Fridays in PCA Sim Racing?
Yeah, obviously seat time is the main thing for learning the, refining your line. As you can see, this class, everybody's pretty much within fraction of a second with each other. So we've all got the optimal times. It's all comes down to luck and patience and tactics, racecraft, and doing a lot of endurance racing with Chris Pies and Matt Kikas and others, the Huth brothers. Over the year, we've done all of the endurance races, special events. So that's really taught me a lot about most of the battle is keeping the car clean and being there at the end to do battle.
Leave it until the very end, and then make sure you have something left to fight with. Very important for everybody involved in this to see this blow up the way it has, and to come back to the 911 GT3 for Series 6. How exciting is that to sort of go back to roots, especially since you were there at the very beginning, and you'll get the chance to see how much PCA sim racing has really changed when we go back to the original litmus test next spring.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the growth is exponential, but it's really close to that. We've got at least 50% growth season over season. Now we're splitting off into other interim series. It's just I don't know when it's going to stop, but it's fantastic, and I hope I'm here for all of it.
More importantly, though, champion. You have that on your resume, and I know there are a tremendous amount of people that you need to thank for that. So the floor is yours to send the congratulations, the thank yous, and the love that you need to.
Sure. I want to thank Doug, Mike Nyden, Jim Hemmig, all of the other ED instructors, Pies, Who's, all of the guys. I know I'm going to leave a bunch of people out. Billy Smith, my teammate in real life, and fellow Maverick, the podium guys, and the PCA group that is responsible, that keeps us going. All the guys behind the scenes, Matt Mitchell, all of the people that keep promoting this within the organization and letting it run and grow organically and to its fullest possible potential. I'm so thrilled with this league.
You also will walk away with a VIP membership to the Haggerty Drivers Club, which has its own set of perks. So thanks to Justin Moreno and everybody at Haggerty for that. And we're waiting on official confirmation for this, but your zone, Zone 5, led the zone challenge going into this evening. And there's a very solid chance, especially with your performance, that Zone 5 ends up being the best zone, the best finishing zone in all of PCA Sim Racing Series 5 across all classes. So what does that say about the strength of PCA Sim Racing down in the Texarkana region?
Yeah, Zone 5, I mean, I don't know a lot about the other zones, but I know we have very enthusiastic racing community, and Texas is a very large car market and Porsche market, so I wouldn't I expect they'd be in the hunt for that title, and we're all of the Zone 5 guys are trying to get more people in, stay competitive.
Seems like every race that we run, we turn around and we see another Hill Country or a Lone Star or a Maverick or an Ozark. Or
yeah, let's keep that theme going, right?
I don't think anybody down there would complain, and we can confirm here, just got the word, it is official, Zone 5 wins the zone challenge. So Zone 5 officially is the fastest zone in all of PCA Sim Racing in Series 5. So you get the individual title, your zone gets the zone title. A big day for you across the board, Lee. On behalf of everybody at the Porsche Club of America and Podium Esports, congratulations on your Pro Class Championship. We look forward to seeing what you can do in Series 6.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Good work this season.
Leif Peterson, the champion. And for those who weren't aware of the Zone Challenge, we've been keeping track of everyone's finish by zone in all 4 classes across the season to find out which zone was the fastest. Zone 5 gets it done by 100 points over Zone 2. So a special shout out then to all the chapters in Zone 5 who have earned this honor in the PCA. So if you are part of the Lone Star region, the Maverick region, the Hill Country region, the Longhorn region, the Coastal Bend region, the Warbonnet region, Cimarron region, the White River region, the Ozark region, the Arklatex region, the Whiskey Bay region, or the Mardi Gras region, congratulate yourselves. You are champions amongst all the zones in PCA sim racing. And it certainly doesn't hurt when you also have 2 of the 4 class champions in your zone as well. Of course, Ian Simon from the Mardi Gras region of the PCA picked up the challenge class title earlier this evening. So you've got him, you've got Lee Peterson in the pro class. That certainly helps, I think, at the end of the day. Second in points in your race winner tonight for the Hudson Champlain region was James Huth, and he is with Taylor Burris.
Here with James Huth finishing second in the championship here tonight. You take home not only the second place in championships, but also you take home the win here tonight at Daytona. How do you feel with that?
I think all my friends, surprised me and said, "Here, take this one." But honestly, it was a fantastic race, a lot of fun.
It certainly was. We had a lot of fun watching you and Christopher Pies battle it out for the race win there. But tell us, how were conditions out on the track trying to work their way around the lap traffic as well as battling it out when all 5 of you were battling for the race win?
Well, we're so used to racing with each other now. Me and Leaf and Chris and Matthew, and we've been racing each other for 5 series now, and we've really become really good friends. It really is about the people. So our battle was heated, but it was respectful. Everybody knew where each other was. We were trying to give each other enough room. It was really just a whole lot of fun for a finale. But it was definitely at it. We were not letting back much,
Of course, and what can we look forward to seeing you in next season in Series 6 in the PCA Sim Racing Series?
I'm here to do what I need to do and get as many people involved and get people on the learning path to being good drivers. I'm just good to continue on. This is a blast.
All right. Well, James, before we let you go, who would you like to say thank you to and give a shout out to?
Well, the list is way too many, but my wife for letting me stay up late and do this, and Doug Atkinson and Michael Knighton have been just inspirations for building the league and building friendships. Same thing with Jim Hemming and everybody else involved in the steering committee. And thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate working with you all.
All right, that is James Huth, the winner of tonight's race here at Daytona, and finished second in the championship. Our very own James Pike has caught up with the final driver on the final step of the points championship podium, Mr. Matthew Kikas from the Carolinas region.
Fitting, baby, that you turn from one member of the Carolinas region to another Carolinian, as Matthew Kikas now joins us in the booth. 3rd place in Series 5 of PCA Sim Racing and 3rd place in tonight's race. And Matthew, I feel like this track plays to your strengths in particular. Give yourself a little bit of room to race, some chance to exploit the speed that you have, especially down the straightaways, and things open up for you very nicely. Do you think the extra room at Daytona helps you a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily my strongest track that we've raced on this season, but at the same time, I was lucky enough to find myself a little better room, and the guys behind to fight just enough to buy myself a big enough hole where I didn't have so much pressure from behind the whole race, which was awesome because it let me focus on my exits and not worry about carrying so much speed into some of the areas like the bus stop on the backstretch where I had to didn't have to take too many risks, basically, which I was super happy about tonight after the race I had last week. So it's really satisfying to put together a full, super clean race with some good pace.
I look at you, I look at, shall we say, our Carolina region, and the one thing that jumps out to me, maybe not necessarily to the same extent as Lone Star or Maverick, but in this particular season, you see the Shum family come in and step up. Chris Walsh comes in. It feels like we're getting more people from the Carolina region involved, and that the bonds between you all are becoming stronger and stronger with each passing week. Can you tell us a bit more about the development of PCA Sim Racing in the Carolina region and how that's progressed, especially since the very beginning, because you were part of that first series as well?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a whole lot of input at the region level yet, but hopefully we're planning some fun stuff coming up as we move into the next generations of PCA sim racing. But I have to give a massive credit to guys like Jacob, who special shout out, I guess, because he just got his actual driver's license this season, right while we're doing this. So he's shown incredible pace, and there's been a few times where I'm racing him where I wasn't used to racing him in the past. Some of the other guys in the region, I actually was lucky enough to meet Chris Walsh about a month ago at VIR when there was a bunch of people there, so that was pretty cool. And it's just neat to see that the tightness of the entire top portion of the grid here is collapsed. Like we're battling for tenths and hundredths in qualifying compared to the last couple seasons where those gaps have been tighter. And I know earlier this year I had a couple of races where maybe I qualified 2 or 3 tenths off of where I probably could do, and that dropped me down, to just outside the top 10, which just shows how strong the grid has become in the Pro Series, and the Carolina drivers are definitely improving as well.
I think that the Carolina region is going to be a pretty good example of what we should expect when the zone racing comes around next year. There are a few battles that I can think of right off the top. I think Maverick versus Lone Star down in Zone 5 is going to be a beautiful bloodbath in the best of ways because there's going to be so much talent there. But I think I look at Zone 3 in particular, where you've got the Carolina region who's had some speed. We know about the Peach State region. The Palmetto region has come on very strong in Series 5 in particular. Music Stout, I think, is going to have a say in everything. A few Heart of Dixie drivers have some pace. Do you have any sort of expectations as to what we're going to find in the zone racing and how much fun that's going to be to go after it with some of the other regions in Zone 3?
I mean, I think it's going to be great because there's definitely just looking down the list, right? And we're also paired with Zone 12, so we get all the Florida guys too along with us. But the Peach State guys all know each other and have a league developed, obviously, before all this other stuff started. And so that's going to be a challenge. And then as we go in against guys like Robert from Florida and some of the other guys from down there, it's just going to add another group as well. So I don't think it's definitely not a given by any stretch once you take out my buddies Chris and Leaf from Texas that I'm going to necessarily be the fastest guy in the region. But I think it's definitely going to be a challenge, and with how much everyone is improving, it's a race every time. And I think we're really looking to build a group of people that can represent this portion, the zone, and eventually the region level very strongly, and take it to the other areas of the country.
A lot of fun. Also, I don't know if we got the chance to mention it on any of the broadcasts this year, but I'm going to give a special shout out to the summer interlude victory that you had at Talladega right before we started Series 5, because you happened to run a livery very similar to one certain Indiana native's 1999 rookie paint scheme, which may or may not have a very soft spot in my heart. So you'd be surprised. Guy from Carolina runs the Tony Stewart paint scheme. You sure it's not me driving out there, maybe?
Hey man, there's one thing that I have had the chance to do over our whole lockdown situation and everything else is run in a couple of other fun leagues where we get to make ridiculous paint jobs that copy other things or whatever else. So I had the chance to educate myself more and kind of learn how to do that. And when we said, hey, we're going to go oval racing for fun again, I said, hey, I know I can throw something together that's going to be great. And it was great. I put something together, a couple other guys did, and then after that we had all kinds of crazy sponsored cars. Chris ran a Dunkin' Donuts car, we had like a Doritos car, a couple of other throwbacks to NASCAR drivers of the past as well. And it was just cool to see something different and just have a little bit of fun with I think iRacing is, while the serious racing is excellent, it also shines in doing things that you would never do in real life. So doing stadium super truck type racing in weird places, or doing oval racing with sports cars.
Moral of the story, if you haven't seen anything about PCA Sim Racing's interludes or preludes, join them because you can have fun like Matthew just talked about. I know there are so many people you need to thank for your podium run over the course of this season. So, Matthew Gigas, who do the shout-outs go to? Who does the love go to at the end of Series 5?
Well, I mean, it's a new high point for me. I finally finished the season both on the podium and finished the season points championships on the podium. So first to my wife for being super supportive of my crazy hobby, and the family watching all over the place, wherever they end up. And even my mom is over in England and they watch the races when they get the chance to now too, which is really fun. So all those guys, and then my endurance team, who is myself, Chris Pies, and Leaf. I've learned so much from those guys, and a little bit of help with the setups, and it's kind of helped me drive the car as fast as long as possible. It's really easy to come out of the gate in these things and be fast in the very beginning, but I've learned to improve my driving technique a lot this season to keep the car up near the front of the grid, especially as the tires and the fuel burn off the thing. So it's been great fun. Developed some awesome friendships in the PCA side from this, and look forward to whatever next year brings with PCA sim racing.
Matthew, on behalf of everybody at the Porsche Club of America and Podium Esports and a certain fellow North Carolinian, congratulations on your P3 run in Series 5. Thanks as always for the time, and we look forward to seeing you in the off-season and the zone competitions, and ultimately in Series 6 and maybe even the Enduro Series too.
Yep, thank you guys very much. Super looking forward to the Endurance Series. We've had some great runs doing iRacing Endurance events this year. It's one of my favorite things to do now that I got a great team of people. And we look forward to watching the broadcast the next time they come around.
Matthew King is P3 tonight in this race, P3 in the final standings of the Pro Class of Series 5, and that leaves us with one more interview to go. Dewey King is the winner of the Haggerty Driven to Excellence Award, the cleanest driver in the Pro Class, and for his efforts, he now gets to chat with Taylor Burris.
Good to be here with Dewey King, the winner of the Haggerty Drivers of Excellence Award. And Dewey, by far, looking at the incident points, you only racked up 13 incident points throughout the entire season, showing how well you were able to keep your car clean in every single race you competed in this season.
Yeah, thank you. I'm totally honored. And it's 13 more than I planned.
Well, tell us a little bit of how your season went for you. I mean, you had a strong running throughout all season. It had some great runs, but what was one of the races that you most were proud of running in?
Now, that's a tough one because I was pretty consistent in terms of where I was throughout the season. But I'd say Watkins Glen. I thought Watkins Glen really vibed really well with this car, and the racing was very good. I had a few 2 wides going up on turn 2, and it was all a lot of fun on the Glen.
Well, what can we look forward to seeing you in next seasons with the endurance races as well as Series 6 of the PCA Sim Racing Series?
I'm very excited for everything, really. There's a lot on the table for 2021 with PCA Sim Racing. Lots of exciting new events and endurance series and everything. And on the side, shout out to our Swarm Racing folks for the endurance races, so we'll be participating in a lot of the longer endurance runs as well.
Well, before we let you go, Dewey, who would you like to give a shout out to and thanks to?
Well, first of all, you guys. This means a lot to me because at Daytona, it's a full circle, right? Beginning of the year, met you guys for the first time, so and you guys made a very, very, great broadcast all through the season, so I really appreciate that. My buddies with Swarm Racing, Ed Nelson, Jonathan Shum, Jacob Shum, Joe Stiffel, Christian Rava, Lynn Wilson. Too many names to mention, really. But thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.
And we appreciate you for putting on great shows week in and week out. That is Dewey King, your winner of the Haggerty Driving of Excellence Award.
Dewey King wins the Haggerty Driven to Excellence Award, and Taylor Burris, just like that. That is just about it for Series 5. Your final thoughts as we reflect on, I would argue, the most competitive series of them all today.
I mean, this was a phenomenal race. We saw a whole lot of drama going on here as championships were won and lost in just a matter of moments. And we have seen some champions who deserve a chance of finally claiming a championship. So a great effort for a lot of these drivers, and I only can not wait to see what happens in 2021.
Should be a lot of fun, I think, in particular. It should be all kinds of excellent racing. I stand by it. I don't know if the Pro Class has ever been as tight as it's been in Series 5. And I think one of the big themes of Series 6 that we're going to see play into all the action is just the sort of homecoming and return to the beginning. It was in the GT3 Cup cars that Series 1 and Series 3 were competed in, but PCA Sim Racing wasn't nearly as big then as it is now. So we're going to get a very good feel for just how much bigger everything is here. And everything has grown here significantly. I think Leaf mentioned it, that it hasn't necessarily been immediately exponential, but again, from 40 to 300, a tremendous amount of growth across the board. Also, in the zone race, we talked about how Zone 5 won the zone competition. Zones 2 and 1 were the other two that finished in the top 3 over the course of this race. So Zone 1, you've got the Northeast region, the metropolitan New York region that held down a lot of action, and then Zone 2 driven primarily by the Potomac, the Chesapeake, and I think also most importantly, Central Pennsylvania. That's where Earl Arch Jr. calls home. So his run helps propel Zone 2 to a runner-up finish in the Zone Challenge. Really solid work across the board from Zones 5, and then 1, and then 2. But it's 5, 2, 1 in that order that take the podium in the Zone Challenge. A few events to come up in the next week in the world of iRacing and Podium Esports before we sign off. Tomorrow night and Sunday night, tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for the All-American Esports 400, the official esports competition of the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. You can find that on twitch.tv/podium2. Before Monday night, it's the Sim 500 Trans Service Cup Series back in action from Texas Motor Speedway that you can find October 26th on your screens on the Podium Esports Twitch channel before the final race of the first round of the playoffs for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series from Texas Motor Speedway. Nick Ottinger is racing for a title. Bobby Zelensky is racing for a title. 2 more drivers will join them after next Tuesday night. That broadcast can be seen October 27th on iRacing's Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube channel. That's next Tuesday night. And then the Esports Racing League heads to Martinsville Speedway for their penultimate race of the season next Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find that coverage October 28th on twitch.tv/ERL Racing. And again, we've said it a few times in this broadcast, but even though that's it for official PCA Sim Racing in 2020, so much more to come in year 3 of PCA Sim Racing in 2021. 3 different kinds of racing you are going to see. We've talked about all of them. The biggest one, though, and the one that's going to get the most participation, I think, will be the zone racing program. PCA Sim Racing is expanding into intra-zone competitions. So whether or not you're part of Zone 1, Zone 12, Zone 5, Zone 3, Zone 7, you will be able to race amongst your zone to prove that you are the best of the best at home. And it will give you more opportunities to race yourselves in addition to the national racing that you'll see. There's so much that is going to come throughout all zones of PCA Sim Racing. You can find out more about that at pcasimracing.com/zone-groups. Also new, and one of the two series at the national level will be the PCA Sim Racing Endurance Series, which will kick off January 15th right here at Daytona International Speedway. 2 drivers per team, 3-hour events, and the Porsche 911 RSR GTE. That should be a big amount of fun. You heard Matthew Kikas just talk about that. I think he's not going to be the only one that puts forth a pretty good team in that. You think Lee Peterson and Chris Pye is also putting together a team for Imperial Motorsports. That could be a dangerous combo in that series. And you got a whole host of drivers who are probably licking their chops thinking about running endurance racing for the first time officially in PCA Sim Racing next year. And then we continue our tradition of series racing with Series 6, which comes your way in April of 2021. We go back to the 911 GT3 Cup car for the first time in over a year, the first time since the end of Series 3. we're going to have a tremendous amount of fun running back in GT3 Cup competition as PCA Sim Racing gets back to its roots and we see just how big everything has become. It is time for us to, at long last, close down our broadcast and close down everything in Series 5. 32 races have been run, 32 races have been finished. 4 class champions have come together and done it. And one more time, congratulations from PCA and Podium Esports to our 4 class champions. To Ian Simon out of the Mardi Gras region, who won the challenge class presented by Haggerty. To Earl Arts Jr. out of the Central Pennsylvania region, who won the sport class presented by Leland West. To Sean Bonet out of the Lincoln Trail region, who won the club class presented by Michelin. And Leif Peterson in the Maverick region, who won the pro class presented by Porsche. Your 4 champions for the classes in Series 5. A tremendous thank you also to the partners that helped make this series possible. To Haggerty, to Leland West, to Michelin, to Porsche, to VRS, and to the Z1 dashboard, without whom Series 5 certainly would not have been as successful as it has been. A tremendous thanks for all their support all season long. We look forward to seeing them more as PCA Sim Racing continues. A tremendous thank you to all of the drivers and the competitors and the staff and the volunteers of PCA Sim Racing. Doug Atkinson, Jim Hebig, Mike Knighton, the steering committee, all aboard the EDE team that helped put everything together and help make this one of the best run ships in sim racing. Big thanks to iRacing for their support. It is the iRacing platform that we have used throughout Series 5. If you haven't had the chance to go learn more about the world's premier online racing game, visit their website at iRacing.com for more information. You'll certainly want to find out more about how we get this incredibly realistic sim racing. It's all computer generated, and the cars might not be real here, but the racing most definitely is. And finally, a thanks to our team at Podium Esports: Cisco Scaramuza, Gary Suxton, John Theodore behind the scenes, Jim Hemmig and Doug Atkinson, DJ Lyon and company, who managed to piece together a brilliant job running race control all season long, our producer, Ryan Bauer, and my colleague in the booth, Taylor Burrish, all of you helping make this an incredible success. And most importantly, and last but certainly not least, thank you to all of you who have watched one race or all races of Series 5, be it on Twitch, be it on Facebook, be it on YouTube, be it on Twitter, be it on wherever. Your support makes this entire endeavor possible, and it has become such a treat to spend our Friday nights with you in the spring and in the fall, bringing you the best of what PCA Sim Racing has to offer. For everyone at PCA and at Podium Esports, I am James Pine, the voice of Podium Esports. Thank you so much for watching our broadcast of PCA Sim Racing Series 5 season finale tonight from Daytona International Speedway. And thank you for watching PCA Sim Racing all series long, all year long. We are back January 15th with the opening of the Endurance Series, all new for 21, and we are back with Series 6 April of next year. A happy holiday season to you all, a blessed new year. We look forward to seeing you once again in 2021.